Well, hello everybody and happy Sunday. How are you? My name is Scott Pinyard. I am the head coach here at This Naked Mind, and I'm going live today like I do pretty much every Sunday to talk about some stuff. Talk about things that are on my mind, talk about things that I've seen people talking about in our groups. And this week, I want to talk to you about something that proves pretty elusive for a lot of us going through this process, and that's this: joy. I'm going to talk about joy. I guess it kind of tis the season, right, to have this discussion. But before I get into that, I do want to ask you a question. Have you ever had the question, am I an alcoholic? Like, I know for me, going through this journey, that question was probably among a list of maybe 10 or 15 that were some of the most disturbing questions that I had. And so we have put a free guide together for you on that very question. You can go to alcoholictruth.com and get the answer today. And guess what? I'm always so tempted to spoil the answer, but I'm not going to do it. But I will say that the answer will surprise you. So if that is a question that is holding you back, if that is a question that does that makes you question whether or not you want to move forward with this process, then please go download our free guide to the question, am I an alcoholic? And I think you'll be happy you did. So I'm going live a little bit earlier than I normally do today. Got some family stuff. So I want to encourage any of you who are watching to please post, say hello, tell me where you are, tell me what's up with you. I have some stuff that I want to talk about, but of course I'm always happy to answer questions and dig in where need be. So I'm just going to open up my phone so I make sure that I can see comments, because sometimes I can't. But I want to talk about joy. And this is a weird topic for a lot of people, because I know that going through this process and feeling like you're struggling, it can feel like, man, I don't know how to access this. Yet at the same time, when people talk about why they might want to change their drinking, feeling happy, right? Joy is one of the reasons that they say they want to do it. And so it's kind of this catch-22, I guess. It's kind of this situation where it's like, all right, what do I actually do? How do I actually deal with this? And that's what I want to talk about today. So sorry guys, Facebook is giving me a hard time with the comments here. I got to open up another window. We do that very quickly, and then we will dive in. Joy, right? Joy. What the hell is joy? That's what I want to talk about first, right? So joy is spontaneous enjoyment of the moment, right? It's being involved with something, being engaged with something, and just feeling happy, right? In a moment of joy, things fall away, right? Other things that we're dealing with, other problems that we're dealing with, it's not that they don't matter. It's just that they're not clouding our thinking, and we are able to connect with what's happening right in front of us at this exact time, right? It's being in the moment and allowing things to make you happy, right? Regardless of anything else that's going on. And, I have done a few lives recently talking about the idea of how do I get through the holidays, right? And you see all these titles like, how do we survive the holidays? How do we survive these early days of drinking? And those are all great guides, and I stand behind everything I said. But I think one thing that, I know that I've really missed in sort of presenting this stuff to you is the experience of joy. And that's what I want to talk about, right? We spend so much time focusing on the stress of what's going on. What about the good things? Right. And here's the thing about joy. This is not a particularly holiday centric message, although it is one of the themes, right, of the holidays. But here's the thing, right? Joy is always accessible all the time, constantly. Joy is right there for us. But the thing is, what it requires from us is it requires from us to choose it. It requires us to allow it. And it's literally all about what you decide to pay attention to, what you decide to give your thoughts to. And, you can probably think of some joyous occasions. I mean, Lord knows I can. Hey, Dinah, how are you? Thank you for commenting. Now I know the comments work. I don't have to worry about that. Um, you can probably think of some joyous occasions where that maybe weren't so joyous, right? Maybe, and I was trying to think of examples, but maybe you were going to a wedding, but before you got there, you got in a fight with your partner, right? Or maybe you were going to a kid's birthday party, but before you got there, you had a flat tire. Hey, Tara, how are you? Good to see you, right? It could be any number of things, is my point. But the reality is that when we let the situation around us and we let the whatever our goals or our struggles are control our thinking all the time, we literally block our ability to experience joy. And the argument that I'm trying to make today is that it is always available to you. It is available to you right now. But, hello, Angela. It is available to you right now, but you have to choose it. And that choice is 100% up to you. And I know that it doesn't seem like that's the case. And trust me, like having gone through this process myself, hey, David, how are you? You get in this situation where it feels like everything in your entire life narrows down and focuses down on this. Am I going to drink? Am I not going to drink? How am I going to drink? What am I going to do? What about this? What about that? Right? Don't drink, don't drink, don't drink. I mean, it's this constant incessive focus. And, that's not necessarily a bad thing because this is a big shift, right? This is a big shift for a lot of people. For a lot of us, it's caused a lot of pain in our lives. And so, of course, we are going to laser focus on what's going on. We're going to laser focus on where we can do better, on what might be difficult, on what might be easy. The problem, though, is that in doing that, in being focused on this later time, and being focused on, this particular negative emotion, we stop ourselves from being able to experience joy, right? And I mean, just think about it. Think about some of the activities that people say they're going to experience or that give them joy, right? So Rachel just talked about Christmas. So like for me, I have 3 kids. Watching them, get their presents and have fun at Christmas, that creates joy for me, right? And if you watch a kid doing that, I have an 11-year-old daughter who swears she's 18, right? And like if I watch my 11-year-old daughter open those presents, yeah, she is not going to be focused on her, social upheaval at her school or on the homework she doesn't have to do. She's going to be totally focused on this present and she's going to experience it and it's going to be amazing. And you can probably think about times in your life where something like this happened too, right? I mean, we all have these examples from times when, maybe you're out for a walk and there's a gorgeous sunset, right? And it just surprises you. And you're struck in this moment of, wow, that is beautiful. And for that brief amount of time, right, when you put down all of these other things, you're able to just experience joy. And again, the argument that I'm making is that it is always available. So you might be thinking, okay, Scott, great, but here's the problem, right? I am working on these things. I have these real world problems that are in front of me right now, right? Like maybe you're trying to change your relationship with alcohol, or maybe there's an issue at work, or there's an issue at home, or there's something that needs your immediate attention. I get that. I understand. And very often it weighs really, really heavily on us. But the truth is, that this journey that you're on with alcohol, and this is true with many other problems, they would consume our thinking all the time if we let them. Right? Like it would just be this constant preoccupation. Right? We are constantly thinking about it. I know this journey with alcohol, like once you wake up in the morning, you're thinking about what you're going to do that night. And that night, you're thinking about what you're going to do the next day. And as you go through the day, you're going to be thinking about, man, I really want to figure out how to avoid drinking tomorrow. And it's just this constant thing. And while that focus can be super good, it can also very much take you out of the moment. So when you're worried about the office Christmas party that's 2 weeks away, yet, there's a gorgeous sunset outside, or your kid's sitting right next to you, you're missing an opportunity for joy. And I'm not saying this in a sense of trying to guilt anyone. That's absolutely not what I want to do. But what I want to point out is this. We spend a lot of time thinking, oh, when I get there, I'll be able to experience joy. When I get there, I'll be able to be happy. right? And what I want to argue, and I'm going to argue this strenuously, is that that sort of thinking is not only not productive, but it's just flat out wrong. It is not only when your journey is complete with alcohol that you'll be happy. It is not only when you finally change your relationship with alcohol that you'll be able to experience joy. You can do it now. And yeah, like maybe there's some truth to that idea. Maybe there's some truth to the idea that, oh, you know what? Maybe you'll be able to experience joy more often, or maybe you'll be less preoccupied down the road. Absolutely true. However, it is not true that you can't experience joy now. And as a matter of fact, I was thinking about this and reflecting back on people that I've coached and people in our programs. I see a real correlation with people who take a minute to experience joy and having an easier time on this entire journey. Because here's the thing with alcohol, guys. Like, for so many of us, hey, Lorraine, from Ireland. That's awesome. Good morning. Good afternoon to you, I guess. There's always a situation where you're going to be feeling like, oh, not until later. Or, oh man, I'm so, I'm only going to be happy when I finally don't drink for an entire weekend, or whatever your goal might be. But here's the thing, right? As I was saying, when you focus only on that future, when you focus only on how only be happy when, you miss out on so many opportunities now. And not only does that laser focus, although it feels like it's needed because it has such a big impact on our life, that laser focus can bring you down. And it can take you out of experiencing what is right here, right now. And you don't have to do it all the time. And I want to be clear, I'm not making an argument for, ignoring the change process that you might be going through. What I am making an argument for is you making some space for yourself to experience joy. Because when we don't do this, when we don't allow this, right, and then we go through this process of letting go of alcohol, it's so easy to burn out. It's so easy to be so focused on the future and so focused on that next goal and so focused on this that we end up just overloading. It feels like it can be too much. Whereas taking a moment, no matter where you are in your process, and I am going to give you, by the way, something you can do to kind of help you with this process, but no matter where you are in your journey, taking a moment to experience that joy, oh man, it's an amazing, first of all, break from this constant running inner monologue about what's going on with you in alcohol. It's also a great reminder of why you're doing this in the first place. In our programs, we have this process where we have you write out your why, right? Why do you want to change, right? Why do you want to do something different? And that is very powerful. And having a sense of that is something that can be incredibly valuable. However, I would argue, I'm saying the word argue a lot today, I don't know why, but I would argue that all of that is great, but something that is even more powerful is direct connection and experience of joy and happiness. And I am trying to say that you have this in front of you right now. And that not only do you have it in front of you right now, but that actually experiencing it might make the rest of this journey even better. It might be easier to see this like looking at it from a different direction. So I want you to think about a time in your life. I want you to think about a time in your life and push alcohol to the side for a second. But think about a time in your life when maybe there was something major going on, right? There was a big problem, maybe at work, or a personal problem, or, maybe the news was bothering you. I mean, hell, last year is probably a good example of this, right? And so you're going about your day and things are happening, but it feels like this thing is here, right? It feels like I'm carrying around this thing. I'm carrying around this issue. I'm carrying around this problem at work, or this problem at school, or this problem with the world. And I have to focus so much energy on carrying this thing that I miss what's going on, right? I'm sure you can think of a time that was the case. Now, I want you to think of taking this problem and putting it down. You're like, great, thanks, dude. That's really helpful. Bear with me, right? Because when we take this and we set it down, then we don't have to focus so much energy on staying focused. right? We don't have to focus so much energy on, which often just translates into blame and shame and just really things that stand in our way, right? What if you took a break? What if you took a break? Like, what if you took a break from beating yourself up? What if you took a break from focusing on this strategy or that strategy? And it's a mindful break. And again, I'm going to outline how to do this for you. But essentially, what if you gave your brain a break so that you didn't have thoughts in between you and the joy that you could experience right now? It's a way to hit pause on the mental and emotional processing that's going on with you. You know, a lot of people ask me, you know, Scott, like, why does the path take a year, right? So we have a program that's a year long. Or an even better example of this is our coach training, right? We train coaches regularly and it takes us about 6 months to do it. And they go, well, why are you doing it that way, right? Like, why don't you just have a weekend seminar? Or why don't you just have a, a one-day thing? And it is true that, like, I think for some people that process would work, right? If you're trying to quit drinking. But the reality is this is a growth process. So changing your relationship with alcohol is a growth process. It's about changing the way that you think. And that doesn't happen just by me talking. That happens by me saying something and then you taking something and living with it a bit and playing with it and realizing, oh, these concepts, connect with me, and then coming back for the next concept. That just inherently takes time. And so, we go through this process. We go through a year in the path. You might have been working, right, the average amount of time, and there's a lot of research on this, but the average amount of time from when someone says, hey, I need to change my relationship with alcohol to when they actually do it, that's like 5 to 6 years. And for some people, it's longer. Like, I've met people who've said they've been in that process for decades. Hey, Tracy, how are you? And the reality is that for that entire time that we are struggling, we always have the opportunity to experience joy. And not only do we have the opportunity, but I would argue we have the right. I would actually argue that you owe it to yourself. So no matter, Joanne, how's it going? No matter if you are just getting started and this is the very first video you're ever watching from us, or if you've been reading the book, or if you've read the book 5 times, or if you're in the path, or if you've done the live alcohol experiment, no matter where you are, giving yourself the opportunity to experience joy is going to recharge and re-energize you. And it's always there. I know this sounds really kind of like hokey, and I apologize for it, but it's truly how I feel, and it's truly what I've learned as I've gone through this. So I want to give you an exercise that you can do. And this is something that I do personally. I also teach our coaches to do this. When we go into a coaching call, one thing about coaching is that I need to take whatever's going on in my brain, right? Like the emotions that I'm having, and I need to set them aside so that I can be like 100% laser focused on you. And I also use this process when there's a lot of things going on in my life, yet I'm going to a happy event, like a kid's birthday party, or maybe, a Christmas party, a holiday party, a New Year's party. So what do you do? Right? Like, how do you do this? I think everyone can understand this joy thing from a concept, and it's great for me to be sitting on camera smiling and saying it's always available to you. I want to give you some concrete steps on how you can actually get there. And I will tell you that this takes practice. But I will also tell you that when you do this and you see a little sliver of it, it's going to start to shift things for you. Okay, so here is the process. This takes me about 10 to 15 minutes, depending on what's going on with me. So you need a journal. However you journal, if I make videos or voice notes, you can do that. You can write it out, whatever works for you. But here's what I want you to do. In this exercise, take those things that are standing in the way of you experiencing joy and write them down. Just write out a list. And, some of the items can be just a line item. Some of the items can be an entire paragraph, right? These are the things. This is where I'm at, right? These are the ups and downs. This is the thing I'm worried about. This is the thing I'm excited about. This is the thing that I'm anxious about, right? All of those thoughts. Get all of those thoughts on paper, right? You can write out your wins. You can write out your setbacks. You can write out how far you've come. All of this stuff. Then what I want you to do is write out why you're doing all of this, right? So I'm on this process because I want to connect more with my kids, or I'm doing this differently because I want to have an alcohol-free life, right? Whatever that might be, right? All of this out. And then, and this is the key part, write out what you're worried about right now. The number one thing that is standing in between you and experiencing joy. Write it out. Then write out what it's going to feel like when this is behind you. And so once you do all of that and you look at it, you can see you've written out this journey, right? You've written out like where you are now and what's bothering you now and where you want to go and how it's going to feel when you get there. Then, and this is the last step, and this is going to sound hokey, but I feel a little nervous pulling back the curtain on this because this really does change things for me. I want you to write down that 1, you're letting go of this for a while, and 2, you're going to pick it back up. And I want you to write down a win, right? So let's say you're going to a birthday party and it's 3 hours long, right? And you know, like, all right, for these next 3 hours, I'm going to be in Chuck E. Cheese. I don't even know if that exists anymore, whatever, right? I'm going to be at a pizza parlor. I'm going to be at an ice cream shop. I'm going to be at someone's house. And here's all of the stuff that I have going on. Here's all of the stuff that I'm worried about. Here's all of the stuff that I'm anxious about. Here's all of the stuff that, I'm excited about. And I'm going to put this aside for a certain amount of time. And at the end of this party, I am going to pick it back up again. This really incredible thing happens, right? You can take this stuff and you can say, I'm setting it aside. And you can go experience the party. And then when the party's done, go pick it back up again. Now, the first few times you do this, it might feel a little wonky. You might be like, what am I doing? And your brain might not might not necessarily trust you. But the more that you do this, the better you get at it. And pretty soon, and ask me how I know, right? Pretty soon you can have some major things going on in your life, some major issues with family, some major issues with work. And you'll be able to understand, quantify them, give yourself, all of the compassion in the world for experiencing it, but then put it down for an hour to play a game with your kid. And this sounds like a hokey trick, but the reality is that one of the reasons we get stuck in these loops, one of the reasons we get stuck in, this hyper focus and all of the stuff that we do on our problems is that we don't necessarily believe, like, unless we have this thought that, like, unless I am carrying this all the time, it's going to get out of control. And so give yourself the opportunity to put it down. Just for a few minutes at first, maybe, right? Just for an hour, right? As you get better on it, you can put it down for a couple of days. My point is this. When you do that, you remove these things that are standing in between you and joy. And then suddenly what you find is you can experience joy and you can have fun. And then when the joy is over, you can go pick that thing back up again. And that's an important part of the process, by the way, right? Recognizing that all of this stuff that you're experiencing, your thoughts and your emotions, everything that you're experiencing around this process is something that you can literally put on a shelf for a little bit of time. And as long as you come back and pick it up again, that's a game changer. And I want to tell you that it doesn't matter where you are in your journey with alcohol. Again, like if you are just starting and you're just reading things and you are still drinking, it is okay to give yourself a break and see where you're going to go next. It's okay to say, you know what, I'm going to put this down and I'm going to enjoy this holiday dinner. And yeah, maybe you are drinking, right? Or I'm going to put this down and I'm going to enjoy this morning walk. And then I'll pick it back up later. And I totally understand how this might sound counterintuitive. Like I completely understand this. But here's the reality. Rome wasn't built in a day. This process doesn't happen overnight. You, as a human, deserve to experience joy. And you, as a human, have access to it all the time. The question just ends up being, are you going to get out of your own way to actually experience it? And I know it might sound a little bit like I'm blaming you for negative thoughts and emotions, and that's not at all what I'm doing. But what I am doing is I'm reminding you that you are in control. You're in control of what you focus on. And if what you focus on all the time are the problems in your life, then that's what you're going to feel. And yes, it might feel like I can't put all these problems down right now. And I totally understand that. But put down your problems for an hour and experience that joy. One of the things, when I think about this and I talk about this, is this idea of experiencing joy is really letting yourself be yourself. Right? So all of this stuff with, I'm trying to figure out my way into changing my relationship with alcohol, and it's confusing and it's emotional, and I get it. I've been there. Like, I know what that's like. That's a process that you are going through, right? That's not you. That's you growing. You are not the struggle. You are not the difficult emotions. You are not the trials and tribulations of this journey, right? You're behind all of that. And so if you can put that down, even again for a moment, give yourself the gift of experiencing joy, because it is there for you. And as time goes on, you'll get better at this. And as time goes on, you'll start to see this in more and more places. The main thing that I want to say is that you have control of how much you experience this, right? I gave you this tactic of writing all of this down, setting a time, coming back to it at the appointed time. But in between those 2 points of time, letting yourself just experience. It's only when you allow what's happening in front of you that you're going to be able to feel joy. When you're in the future, you're in the past, you're not going to do it. So don't block it by forcing yourself to worry about something that happened in the past or to feel anxiety about something that happens in the future. Give yourself a break. You can do this. I know that it feels like a lot, but give yourself a break and put that down so that you can experience joy. And I will tell you, this is the exact same thing that I do. I do this all the time. I like almost every day, to be honest with you, right? There's always something on my mind. Sometimes it's major things, sometimes it's minor things. But when you experience this for the first time, when you give yourself this gift for the first time, it allows you to experience joy. So Joanne said, so being in the moment and being mindful increases joy. Yeah, right? Yes, 100%. And this is the thing, right? This is the thing that I see with people on this journey so often, is that they're not in the moment. And there's a lot of great things about, thinking and planning and reflecting and all of the work we do. I believe in it very strongly. But I also know the fact that if you're spending all of your time thinking about the future, worrying about the past, or, being angry with yourself because it's not going fast enough or whatever that might be, that the stuff that's going on around you might as well not be going on around you, right? You're not experiencing it because your head isn't in the game. So what I'm asking is just to give yourself breaks. And by the way, guys, this feels really good, right? Like when you're able to do this, it feels great to experience joy. And then when you go and you pick that thing back up again, when you pick your journey back up again, when you're looking forward again or you're looking back again, right? When you do that, you feel re-energized. You feel recharged. So I hope this was helpful. And I know that it seems maybe overly simplistic, and I'd love to hear about it, right? Let me know in the comments. I know I'm going live a little earlier than I usually do, so some of the people that watch me most weeks aren't here. So for those of you that see it later, hi, first of all, thanks for watching. Second, tell me what you think. And then I want you to go try this out, right? And tell me what it's like for you. One of the things that I cannot stress enough, and it's so counterintuitive to this process, but we talk about it a lot, right? We talk about this idea of giving yourself grace, of having compassion for yourself. One of the things that is so vitally important is joy, is experiencing happy emotions. And no, you're not going to be happy all the time. I'm not happy all the time. No one is. You probably met people who are happy all the time, and you're probably suspicious of them like I am. But giving yourself the space and giving yourself the experience can make all of this that you're working on, right? All of this hard work, it can make it feel so much better. So I hope that helps you. And again, please let me know in the comments if it does. That is it for me today. I want to remind you, if you are at a point in your life where you are saying to yourself on a regular basis, am I an alcoholic? And that problem scares you. I know it scared me. I want to give you a free resource. You can go to alcoholictruth.com, and right there we have put together a free guide to this very question for you. And I will tell you the answer is going to surprise yourself. So if that is something that sounds interesting to you, please go to alcoholictruth.com. The link is in the description of this video. Thank you so much for watching. And I really hope that you get an opportunity over the next 48 hours. Forget the holidays. The next 48 hours to experience joy for yourself. Even if it's just for a minute. Even if it's just for half an hour. Give yourself this gift. You deserve it. So I hope you all have a fantastic week, and I will see you soon. Take care.